Nugget and Wendy would like to say, and Alan in the background, we'd like to say congratulations to Sharon on the magic of a tiny business. We're very excited for her. We know it's going to be successful. And this is Nugget's first book signing, so he's really, really excited to be here. Aren't you, Nugget?
We'd love it to be unbelievably successful.
Be alive. That's amazing.
Hi, I'm April Freeman Locke. I've known Sharon Rowe for a very long time, and I've read the first 2 chapters of the book, and I found it to be very interesting, very concise, full of great information. Sharon's a wonderful storyteller, and one of the things that I really appreciated was when like she'll talk about a concept in the book, and she speaks about it very articulately, and then you turn the page and there's a comic by her son Julian Rowe, which is hilarious and really nails what, kind of hits home with what she's just said. So I appreciate all of that. I think I'm really looking forward to finishing.
My name is Chris Chalfant, and I have known Sharon since she started her business, which the book was based on. She started a business called Eco Bags when her son Julian was very young, and she wanted to work from home. She wanted to have a lifestyle where she could take care of her son and then her daughter after she started her business. The message of the book, I personally have not read the book yet because I just got it tonight, but I've heard her stories leading up to it. I've seen her operate her business over the past since the mid-'80s. So I've seen her go from the ground up when her husband did the accounting, Blake Rowe did the accounting on their Mac SE. So it's a very small operation in their apartment in Washington Heights. The long hallway between the front door and the back where her office was her warehouse for her string bags. And so I've seen what I've seen of Sharon's work is that she really does live what the message of the book is about. That I've seen her talk about, I've seen her develop it from the very early ideas of when she started journaling. What is this book going to be about? Remember those conversations? I don't know what this book's going to be about. I'll just.
My name's Ellen Feldman Ornato, and I'm Sharon Rowe's sister. And in addition to being Sharon Rowe's sister, here's our other sister, Heidi. Come on in. Hey. This will be great. I know. So this is my sister Heidi. This is my sister Ellen. And so we have lived the magic of tiny business. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So Sharon started the business in 1989 with the idea to clean up the planet one bag at a time. It was really that simple. She just got sick of seeing plastic bags.
And then really launched it at Earth Day.
Yeah, launched
in
it.
Central Park.
Exactly.
With my mother and father by her side. Right?
And the story is they sold out of like 4,000 bags in about 2 hours, and they knew they had a business concept. And from there, well, you can read it in the book. It tells the whole story, and it really starts to unfold what it was like to start from just like the kernel of an idea and grow it into a business that at its height was, they had like 6 or 7 people working there full time.
Yep. And gross income was about $5 million.
Yep.
But Sharon built that business, never losing sight of wanting to have a balance between her family and the workplace. What Sharon really wanted to do was have a successful business, but not at the cost of family life and living.
Right.
She loves being outside. She loves her children. She loves her husband. She loves her family, and she loves her community of Ossining.
You know, but the thing that also was always an important thing was getting home for family dinner at the end of the day. We grew up in a family-owned business. We all own our own businesses now. I have a consulting company. We do teaching, training, and facilitation.
The Boulder Company.
The Boulder Company. And it's really interesting that through our entire adult lives, we've always talked business as we're walking down the beach or taking hikes in the woods. And it's been very collaborative over the years.
So what does it mean to be Boulder, Ellen?
Well, what it means to be Boulder is to tap into the best version of you and use that to do good in the world.
That's pretty phenomenal.
And that's exactly what Sharon has done with an entire community of people who you saw out here tonight. You know, nobody does this alone.
Sharon, we love you.
I have a few important thoughts about our special person tonight. All right. So, my name's Mac McCabe. I am not from Ossining. Sorry. I live on the coast of Maine, and I've driven down here because for the last 3 years I have been this wonderful woman, Sharon's business consultant. And it's just been about exactly 3 years And I wouldn't be anywhere else tonight for this extraordinary unveiling of this amazing book. She'll have her time. So, 3 years ago, I've been working as a consultant in the so-called socially responsible business world for about 30 years, and I had heard of her and she had heard of me, but we never really overlapped with each other. And then 3 years ago, we were up at something called the Social Venture Institute at Omega, where the merger of OM and business, and she was a featured speaker, and I was a panelist. And first of all, as a speaker, she absolutely knocked my socks off. She was eloquent, she was confident, she had something new to say. She was different. And so we immediately went off to have lunch together, which, basically meant mung beans and seitan, but very good. Very good. And somewhere in there she had told me she belonged to this women presidents organization in Westchester, and then she was looking at me, she said, "Oh, you're Alice's guy." And Alice was another member of this group. And so I said, "Yeah, I'm Alice's guy." So we connected, and I've had the blessing, I think, since July of 2015. Most of it, through the wonders of electronics, but I do come to Ossining about 4 to 6 times a year, and stay on Stone Ave, and it's a wonderful place, and I've met many of you over time. Stone Ave! Yeah. So, let me tell you why she's different and why this book is important. In the 80s, when this whole socially responsible thing started, it was really driven by, like so many other things in the United States, by sort of famous people and icons and that kind of stuff. So you had friends of both of ours, Ben Cohen from Ben and Jerry's, and Gary Hirschberg from Stoningfield, and Anita Roddick from The Body Shop. So it was great, but they were sort of iconic. And in most cases, they went off and sold their businesses for a ton of money. But the businesses that I prefer to work with, which she's the perfect representative, and which this book is a perfect representation, is the hundreds of special, small, mission-driven businesses where people have committed something and they've stayed with it for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years. And it's, they've never given up on their mission, they've never given up on their lifestyle, they've never given up on how they treat their employees, they've never given up on who they are in their community, all of which are the bedrocks of socially responsible business. And at this moment in time that we're all living, these are challenging times, and, to be kind. And we need people that we can look to and we can admire. We need places for hope. Now, my particular interest, which I haven't shared this, is over the years, 70% of my clients for the last 30 years have been women. And I'm firmly convinced that women entrepreneurs have the potential to save all of us, but they don't. But they don't always have a way to articulate it. And now, all of a sudden, someone has come along and has articulated it.
So, a lot of light out here. So I just want to thank everybody for coming. This is actually pretty fantastic because this theater that we're in, we opened about a year ago. It was a dark, dank, terrible place for small, light manufacturing. And a bunch of people in Ossining said, "Hey, we want to make this a theater," and we did. It wasn't easy, but we did, and here we are, and now it's filled to the rafters. So let's just give a round for, and we're having a fundraiser tomorrow night, and Blake is playing, and you can get tickets. So I did my plug. But the really cool thing thing about this theater, and I actually just thought of it just now because you all know how much I prepare things, is that actually this is where I started writing about 2 or 3 years ago, because it is a collaborative theater space and we bring things in and we read each other's work, and I thought writing is awesome because even when I can't walk, I can still write. I better get good at it. So I started writing every morning bits and pieces about nothing in particular. Oh, there's lint on my shoes. Oh, there's a bird outside. Really horrible, horrible stuff. And out of it came a play, which was really, really horrible. But I may resurrect it, but maybe not. Out of it also came a short story, which I probably won't resurrect, but out of it came the brazen ability to, thinking that I could write a freaking book. I want to thank my friend Tessa for taking many long walks in California with me, and she finally said, write the book, all right? And I need to thank my sister Ellen for saying, your business is a tiny business, because credit where credit is due. I was like, oh, I can back into that. Because I don't like to make things up for real, I just like to use other people. No, I don't. I'm so glad you could come. And so anyway, this whole thing sort of came together in a way that was pretty magical. I mean, you have to hit me if I start talking marketing speak, because I've been saying the same thing over and over to Entrepreneur, Forbes, and Inc. But the thing is, I just started writing, and then I got this idea to write this book, and then I just literally put out on Facebook, does anybody know anybody who knows anybody? And a friend of mine, Flip Brown, says, yes, you should speak to Barrett Kohler, who's my publisher now. And I write in the book, too, how important community is, because I never like to network, I never like to go out. Ellen was the one who said, you need to go out and meet people. And I said, fine. And I went. And I met somebody, and a year later I needed to know a publicist, and I called her and I said, I need you to get me on Oprah. And she was like, yeah. And I said, really? And then I said, no, really. And then she called somebody who's in the room tonight, Anne-Marie Nieves, who made that happen. I mean, so you never know. You kind of never know where this goes, right? It just goes and goes and goes. So you always have to show up even if you don't like it, and I really don't like it. And then I have to thank my sister Heidi, who came here from Martha's Vineyard. Where is she? She's got her own business. Martha's Vineyard Seaside! She's got these amazing sheds where she dries salt water and makes beautiful crystalline salt. Imagine what happens when pot becomes legal in Massachusetts. Family business. But she used to do greens, and that's where Ellen and I, walking on the beach when we were visiting my mom and my dad, who I'll talk about in a minute, came up with microfarm for freshness. Yeah. But there's just, that's not me, is that Alan? Usually I set my alarm for me. But I mean, there's just way too many people here to So, for real though, I mean, where does this all come from? I think it comes from my mom and my dad. And Mom, was like, you gotta make your own way. You gotta make it happen for yourself. And Dad was like, you gotta work in the store, fold some jeans. Just keep folding jeans, But something really important that I learned about the store is that at 5:30, you close it and you go home. And I think that's something that we've really lost in this culture, is the idea that work stops and your life can start, and this idea of work-life balance is just your life. And Ellen likes to quote Disney, and I'm going to get it wrong. It's my lot in life. It's not a lot, but it's my life. Did I do it? Yeah. So there's so much to that, and I think growing up in a family, my mom was always very progressive. My father was a Republican for a short time, like a nanosecond. Yeah. But aside from just politics, very, very progressive and very embracing in where we grew up, and our neighborhood, all came together. And now I'm looking out, here's my cousin Wendy, who's a fabulous actress, and my cousin Alan, and my uncle Alan, and my mom, and I'm just looking around, and everybody here knows each other through different ways. And then there's Lee. I want to talk about Lee. This is the Queen of England. This is a woman who, when I brought her my first humble draft, after Flip said you need to talk to the publisher, and the publisher said, oh, I like that idea. And I was like, oh crap, I have to do this.
So I said to Lee, who's a writer, can you help me? I've never written anything longer than whatever. And she said, sure. And so I brought her my humble first draft. And she said, okay, that's your vomit draft. I just lost my mic. That's your vomit draft. You can throw that out. So here we go again. And so I brought my draft to Lee, and she said, okay, let's start. And I was like, are you effing kidding me? I have to write this now? And she said, yeah. And she came up with some just brilliant things like, you know, put it out in pictures, put it out in large boards, you know, map it. And also, what's that thing we play in the background? The zeta waves.
Right.
They calm you because even though you've drunk 2 entire canisters of coffee, they calm you. Because the way I got this book done, and then I'll go on, is I actually sat down in my kitchen. Can you hear this? It doesn't sound like I sat down in my kitchen every morning and I signed myself into a timesheet. And I would sign myself out if I went to pee, and I would sign myself out if the dog wanted to walk, and I would sign myself back in. And I wasn't allowed to leave till 1 o'clock. And sometimes that was hard, and sometimes I stayed till 4 o'clock writing. And sometimes after 4 o'clock, I just threw it away. So it's a process. So along those lines, I just want to say there's so many people in this room to thank. I said my mom and my dad, my beautiful children, Julian and Eva. And if I had had my brothers, they'd be in more pages. And then his beautiful wife, Elizabeth. So much and then there's my entire team at EcoBags. I don't know if Andrew got here, but there's Andrew and there's Molly. There's Alex, and there's Lisa. And Ellen worked there, and Joyce worked there. If you didn't work at EcoBag, sit down. Even Michelle, I think you worked there for a day. Blake has been incredible. Where is he?
Right here.
And then my audio book.
Share this.
Jeremy goes with this here. He helped me with the audiobook. Phenomenal. And then Blake did the music. We had so much fun together. It's like, and then, I don't know. Am I supposed to read from this thing? Here. The Magic of Tiny Business. I'll tell you what my goal is for this book. This is not a sales pitch, but it could be construed as one, and that's fine. I wrote this book because I feel like there's a lot of people who just won't get started because they're afraid it's not enough, they don't have enough. There's something isn't the sum of the things they've created or considered, or they just can't figure out how to get started. There's so much pressure right now in terms of VCs and getting started in the world of business. And trust me, I never wanted to be in business. I wanted to be a star. And I still do. That's But I wrote this because I wanted to inspire the next generation. And one of the reasons I wrote it, literally, I was on the porch in Vermont, chained to my chair to write the proposal, which I totally made up. P.S. If you want to pitch something, just make it up to start. You do not have to be perfect in the beginning. Make this shit up. Just woo them with your story, with your eyes, with your depth. And I got this phone call from this young woman who I've known since she's like 1, I think. Kayla. Where's Kayla? Where's Kayla? And she said, she goes, my dad said I should call you because I can't find any business books that really speak to me. And I was sort of, I was starting on this journey already, and I said, well, let me think about that. And I couldn't think of any. I couldn't think of any because most of them were either just written by men, most of them, and a lot of them were much deeper into business kind of books. Or they were written by women were like, you can be confident. Put your big girl pants on. It's like, And also the Spanx lady, she did a great job, but she's been on every magazine cover for the last 10 years. Find some new content. You know, I know fabulous women who have done amazing jobs and built amazing businesses, whether they're solopreneurs or I know billionpreneurs. You know, they're rocking it. So I wrote this to inspire that next generation, and or if you're old, you can inspire too. Those are over there. You know, there's graduates everywhere that need these books, but Kayla, you really did get me to thinking. Because I did the research then. I did most of my research on Amazon, which is kind of lazy. But I realized that most of the books were either written by people who weren't really that approachable, or in really thick, boring text with like small letters, and, like, you know, notes, and like you had to notate things, and you didn't understand that concept, and then diagrams and flow freaking charts. I'm sorry, we need cartoons. So I probably forgot to thank a lot of people, so I don't, you know, whatever. You know, I love you. I apologize. Oh yeah, but I do have to mention that I just got a message. My steamship authority wait list has been approved for more than 3 years. But I actually already booked another one. Yeah. I do want to say something. The desserts tonight are by Key Lime by Caroline.
Over here.
There she is. She's in the